I've been using Sticknodes for a while now. I even have a Discord server based on it. And what I see a majority of people lacking is understanding the 12 principles. And for good reason. It's pretty hard to translate what you see on screen to, moving some nodes around. But that's where I come in. So the first principle of the 12 for animation is squash and stretch, which, it's used to kind of persuade. What word am I trying? It's used to give the illusion of weight and, how stretchy something is. And in hand-drawn animation, it's pretty straightforward. You can see it on screen right now. It's just kind of like the bouncing ball you see everywhere. But how does that convert to stick nodes? We have the stretch feature, but how do we really use it to convey weight? So let's say hypothetically this guy, wave at the camera, his parachute fails and he's falling. Oh no, give him a little bit of air time, then he falls back down. Let's see. Okay, wait, that looks really bad. Let's remove the frame where he touches the ground here and just replace it with replace it with the squash frame. And let's make it a little bit more exaggerated. Okay, that's incredibly exaggerated. So boom. This looks so bad. And then he springs back up. Let's bring him up even more. He's right there. And look at that. Wow, you can barely tell it took me 3 minutes. I added a double frame here. That's just to give him airtime, So yeah, that's squash and stretch basically in Sticknodes. Now of course, let's say we're doing a punch. We've got him lined up for a punch here. Actually, let's make it a little bit more dynamic. We got him lined up for a punch here. How can we utilize squash and stretch in this situation? Well, let's first do the punch itself. One, two, and three. Let's add some ease-in frames. Or an ease in frame, I should say, because I'm lazy. I'm just gonna double frame them. So there's our little punch. How can we exaggerate this a little more? The punch itself, it looks good, but it's a little bland. What we can do at the very peak of the punch here, we can stretch his arm out, and then you can have it go back to its original size during the ease in frame. And already you can see it made a big difference. Now maybe we can do it for the torso as well. And that's really conveyed, he's punching pretty fast. But what if we want him to punch faster? Simply remove a frame. With principle 1 out the way, it's time to move to principle 2. Principle 2 is all about anticipation. You're swinging a baseball bat. You gotta, swing your arms back before you even swing it forward. Same with kicking a football. You gotta swing your foot back before even kicking it. It's a daily part of our lives, and for some reason it's not really incorporated in a lot of animation if you're a beginner. So that's what I'm here for. Let's go back to that first example where I said swinging a baseball. Now I don't have a bat equipped with me, but I do have a segment. Now if we can all pretend that this is a baseball bat, let's get him posed up. Yeah, he's really gonna swing that baseball, isn't he? Alright, there you go. I don't really have a baseball bat, as I said, so this is gonna have to make do, but I think it'll do pretty good at conveying anticipation. Now, to put it into perspective, let's do an animation without anticipation. Let's add an ease-in frame. And there's our animation. To be fair, it looks okay for something I did without anticipation, but promise me it will look at least slightly better when I add it. Now, how to add this. So let's see these first 2 frames here. We can obviously tell, let's say a ball is coming his way. In fact, let's add one. So this ball here, it's coming his way, right? It's going pretty fast, but oh, there we go, strike. Now, if we wanted to add anticipation, frame number 1 and frame number 3 are both keyframes. Frame number 2 is an in between. The problem with frame number 2 is that it's not after the anticipation frame. So usually where this frame is gonna go is behind the in between. It depends on, you know, what FPS you're using, how many anticipation frames, but I'm using 10 FPS. It's a pretty low FPS, so I'm cool with using just one. What we're gonna do, we're actually gonna make them go back one more. It's kind of like an ease in frame. Gonna make them go back one more. Make sure his feet are still on the ground. Gonna raise it up. All right, we raised his hands up. Now we can see that's an anticipation frame before he strikes the ball. And I didn't really add anything to this, but it definitely looks a lot better. You can't really see the difference, but you can really see the difference. I don't know where I think we add an in-between frame for the anticipation one, just because it looks a little bit clunky. Let's also extend his arms. And there we go. There's our guy hitting a baseball bat. Now for every principle, I'm gonna do 2 examples. So I'm actually gonna still do the baseball example, but I'm going to exaggerate it a little bit more so you can really see what I'm talking about. So here's our guy. Say hi again. We're gonna take bro, right? And I'm only gonna animate his arms for this one since it's gonna make a lot more sense. We're gonna give him the same baseball bat. Well, I guess this is a stick rather than a baseball bat. Boom. Let's do a quick little swing. So there's our little swing. If you're an experienced animator, you can tell a couple things I did wrong here, which is actually, I don't know what principle it is, but it's called arcs, which we're gonna get to later in this video. That's why I'm gonna refrain as much as I can until we get there. But here's a little swing with no anticipation, and then now we're gonna add some. Slightly move his arm up. That's the anticipation. You know, he swings his arm up before, and wow, yeah, you can kind of see the difference. Makes it feel a lot more fluid. And you know what, I couldn't help myself. Just a quick little sneak peek into what arcs are. I will not lie to you, it's genuinely crazy. I mean, you can see the improvement there. To get to arcs, we're gonna have to go through all the other principles. Speaking of, this next one is staging. So for staging, I'm not actually going to make an animation because I'm trying to get this video out as soon as possible. So what I'm gonna do is load up an animation I did and post it to YouTube. So you can see it here. I think this is a perfect display of staging. It's also a perfect display of many other principles, but you know, you gotta watch the whole video. To give an example of bad staging, it really comes down to how many characters are on the screen and how many things are moving on the screen. If you can notice, I make sure this guy is already on the floor and, you know, not moving before I bring this guy onto stage or onto the screen. And same thing with this guy, I make sure this guy is down and he's no longer the main point of interest, and then I bring this guy into the main scene by actually moving the camera here, as you can see. So it all comes down to like timing and stuff like that, and it's also to make sure that whoever's watching, they know what to look at, because if I just had all 3 of these guys just on the same frame, like in the same animation, you wouldn't know what to look at. But yeah, this one was a really quick one, and that's only because it's so simple. Alright, the next one on the list is follow through and overlapping animation. Now this one is a little bit more complex, and it's something you almost certain you won't notice, but the main premise of it is, think of it as a tail. And to simplify that further, now you can do this too, it's actually really simple. You just grab the default, you know, little segment here, you copy it, and then you just paste it a couple times. So here we have our tail, and this will accurately tell you or show you what follow through animation is. Now in the grand scheme of things, it's basically one segment affects the other. So let's do an example without follow through. Let's just have this thing wave in the air. Add our keyframes here. then we're gonna have it stop. So pause. Okay, we have made it 10 minutes through the video. So what I want you guys to do is comment orange head. Or what am I saying? Comment orange head to throw other people off in the comments. Also, I want to mention how hard it is to edit this video when it's so massive, because look at this. I'm trying to cut, let's say I'm trying to cut this part of the video out. Let's do this gap right here. Look how long it takes. I'm gonna click the little split button right here. Look how long it takes. That is absurd. And then I go to cut the other part. Same time. And not only that, but it buffers, it lags. I go to cut this, or I go to delete the clip. Did you? Wow, how does it take so long to delete a clip? It's genuinely crazy. But I'm just putting this out there because you might see a decline in, you know, how good the editing is. So if you have a short attention span, you might want to click off now, because I'm genuinely just going to do bare bones. No fancy editing from the beginning of the video, nothing like that, because it's getting way too hard to even split a clip. Enjoy the video. What some might look at this as, it looks like a stick, right? But without like changing the texture, without changing how it looks, we can make this look like a tail. So let's look at these first two frames here. It goes up, right? What makes it look like a stick is that all these little segments, they stay the same. They don't move at all, right? So we're gonna move them because it moved up. We're gonna bend it down to follow through from the last animation. We can see the difference here. And basically what we do, we just repeat this for all the other frames. I mean, this frame follows into this frame follows into the previous frame. So there we kind of have the basic premise, the basic premise. And yeah, like I said, you just follow this through. And right here around frame 5, you can see that it slows down. We're gonna lessen that effect of follow through. So we're only gonna move it a little bit. Do it again, basically just easing the frame out. So there we can see it. Okay, it's kind of buggy here. I'm guessing I added a little too much easing. So we're gonna actually delete a frame. And that seemed to have fixed it. We also need to add one more little follow through here. There you go. I'll put a side by side up on screen right now. You can see the difference. I mean, one looks like a stick, one looks like a tail. I've said it before. This was a really quick one. Let's move on to the other example. So I was just editing the final principle, and I've realized that video is way too long and complicated. So what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna simplify it. What's it called? Slow in and slow out. Principle 6, the last one for part 1. And we can actually just use this stick figure right here. It's literally in the name. Let's say this guy is moving to the side like this. This is one without slow in and slow out. He just kind of glides over there. So let's incorporate that. Slow in means there's more frames at the beginning. So we're gonna actually take frame number 2, put it closer to the onion skin. It's literally easing. That's basically what it is. Get this one, move it closer, and then we can have them branch out. So as we can see here, close, close, medium, far, far. And then for the ease-in frame, you just close, close, boom. There you go. Slow in and slow out. You're welcome. No second example. You've heard it before. I'm tired of editing this. You know, let's say 50 likes for part 2. Thank you.